may not even be aware of where your actual tax
No,
dollars are going.
I wouldn't know at all because I try to stay away from all that topic because I don't think it's fun at all.
It's
But
not fun.
It's going to be very interesting. So what do you have?
Well, especially when you have to pay way more and instead of getting a refund, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's kind of interesting. So, as you know, so we're in Oregon. Washington, you used to live in. What do you know? What was the difference between Oregon and Washington? Is it in general like the big taxes between the two states?
Well, we always had, the sales tax.
There
We
you
had
go.
sales tax there,
Mm-hmm.
but there was no state tax. So there's supposed to be a balance there. However, a little tidbit, what I didn't know necessarily when I went there is that if you work in Oregon, you still pay state tax. You pay Oregon state tax.
You pay Oregon state
So
tax, exactly.
you get really kind of double whammied on that
Yeah.
because you're paying, well, it's close enough to do most of your business on Oregon side anyways. So,
Mhm.
but
Well, I have a buddy who lives up in Seattle. Shout out to you, Jimmy.
Jimmy,
We went in to get my brother a TV for his birthday this year, and so we needed to order it from an Oregon resident
oh, right.
because even if he orders it from an Oregon place, but it's being shipped
Yep.
to Washington, he has to pay the sales tax on
Yes.
it, and his sales tax is like 8.5% or
Yep.
something ridiculous.
That's correct.
It's like it's hard to kind of like play the system in such a way where you can avoid certain things. My stepbrother Wes went in on a laptop for my mom and had my brother pick it up in Oregon because he didn't want to pay the extra almost 9%
Sure.
tax on a device that's relatively expensive.
Yeah.
And
Gotta have
so,
some buddies.
playing the system.
You're going to drive over there to get a new washer and dryer. Sorry.
Exactly.
But that's a luxury that we had living so close to the border,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, because you could take the trek
And
over.
unfortunately, I don't even feel like I was double dipping, if you will, because I was getting double shafted.
Yeah.
I'm paying those
Yeah.
taxes too. So
We have all kinds of different taxes, of course. We have what they call indirect taxes, which are like sales taxes, value-added taxes, collecting by the seller taxes. You've got progressive taxing. So progressive is like the more money you make, the higher amount of taxes you would have to
Right.
pay, not as a percentage, but as you just go into a new tax bracket. The proportional, which is like the flat tax, which always fascinated me, especially back in 2015-ish, moving in towards the election, where Ted Cruz was proposing a national flat tax.
Flat tax, yeah.
And I can't remember what the actual percentage was. I think it was like 15 or something like that. I think it was less than 20%
Yeah.
tax, but it was going to be flat across the board. And I always thought that makes sense to me. Doing something, he said you could file your taxes on a 3x5 card. That's interesting to me.
Did you pay your portion? Yep.
Yeah.
Next. And then guess
Yeah.
what? And everybody's success is everybody's success.
Mhm.
It's not stealing because there's so much double dipping with taxes. Because we're getting part of what you were saying is that we get taxed on our regular pay, right? And now we're going out getting gas and paying our cell phone
Mhm.
and et cetera with already taxed money.
Right.
And so I feel that is the fairest way to be able to do that.
Mhm.
And if somebody wants to do better for themselves than somebody else and succeed, I don't
Mhm.
know, everybody's
Make more income.
I guess income, if
Yeah.
that's their goal, is, I mean, the sky's the limit, and they shouldn't be. And how about this? The more people have, the more that they would probably give on their own, regardless, and to good causes,
Mhm.
not just to a government that's going to take 90% out of it
Yeah.
before they give it to where it's supposed to go.
Right.
I mean, I'm just making up numbers. I have no idea.
Yeah. So to your point about making more money, paying more taxes in a percentage, the thing with taxes is that there are so many different types of taxes at every level, right? So we've got a federal, right? We've got state taxes. We've got, in some cases, county taxes. We've got city taxes. We've got there are different levels of
I mean, you could call them
government
permits.
entities.
I mean,
right,
those are
right,
taxes.
right.
I don't care what you.
So yeah, so you've got different levels of taxes from different levels of government, and like the income tax thing is probably the most understood, and then the sales tax on top of that is understood, and that one probably people are more aware of. Folks who are, like, for instance, teenagers, if they're going shopping in a sales tax place, then they get to experience what a tax is, right? But they're not income earners, right? They're not working a job and seeing stuff come out. And in fact, a lot of places, unless you're looking at your paycheck, you don't really see, how much taxes came out.
Yeah.
So the burden feels a little bit different depending on what kind of tax it is. And then all those other hidden taxes. I mean, there are weird taxes about like cigarette taxes, right? Tobacco taxes, like tobacco products. I roll cigars. There's a different tax for cigarettes and like chewing tobacco and cigars than there is for like whole leaf, tobacco. Think about alcohol. There are all kinds of what they call sin taxes. So if it's something that whoever imposes it thinks is bad, they're going to call it a sin tax. So it discourages you.
Is that why they tax the naughty magazines?
Are they? I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't know either. I mean, they're not. I mean, they are. I don't know.
You don't know. Producer
kidding.
Ethan can probably look it up. But to me, it's interesting that the government has been put into a position where they can manipulate your behavior based on how they're going to tax you.
Well, sure.
And it drives me crazy, be a small government kind of person. If you've got, let's just say, a teenager who is 18, they used to be able to do the like tobacco stuff, and in some cases, it used to be they could drink alcohol. So there were certain things that they could do, and then they increased that age to 21, and it's all about not trusting that age demographic that they can make the right decision for their own health.
Oh my gosh, that means that they're definitely going to be switching it to like 36. Then
Yeah,
soon.
right. It's just going to keep going up. But if you look at like cigarette tobacco taxes, they are enormous. I mean, I haven't looked to see what the cost of cigarettes are these days. And what the actual percentage of taxes are in for that, but it's massive. I think in New York, that's one of the big things that was happening. That people were selling what they call loosies. Is that right? Loose cigarettes.
Oh,
right.
Yeah,
it was sort of undercover because you could make money on it because it wouldn't cost as much as going to the store and paying the enormous taxes on those smokes. So it's a way for the government to kind of manipulate what you're doing. I'm not so sure about the dirty magazines, Dave, but I'm sure if we looked, there might be a tax associated with that. Here are some of the other ones. Of course, we talked about regular sales taxes, payroll taxes. There's estate taxes, and I thought this is a kind of an interesting thing because an estate tax is like, someone passes away and they leave you with what they had. Well, the government, it says here, at a certain level, is that it can take up to 40% of your estate in taxes.
Is that right?
That's an incredible number, 40%.
Yeah, it
so
is.
Someone lives their entire life, have already paid taxes
and
on
probably
that
all
income,
of that stuff,
and still was able to accumulate. But when they want to leave it to their kid, suddenly the government says, "Oh no."
But that's them. You have to, in my opinion, in order for that to happen, the government has to at least pretend that they have just taken ownership of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't pay the taxes, guess what? You don't get it. So I mean, it's them. It's theft.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
well, so there's a number associated with it. They said up to 40% if it's like $5 million or something. $5 million a long time ago was a lot of money. Even today, $5 million is a pretty good amount of money if it's just handed over to you. But this is the accumulation of someone's life, potentially. Right. They lived however many years, and this is the sum total of what's left over that they can leave to their next generation. To me, that's horrible because they've already paid taxes on that income or property or whatever. It's
to
theirs.
do whatever they want with.
Exactly.
They shouldn't be fined or penalized to give what is theirs, at least in this country. Because it's disgusting.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
horrible.
it's terrible enough. And it's being at my age, you've seen a lot of people that pass, and to see the turmoil it brings, the
Sure.
wake of that is
Yep.
now they have to deal with it, and it all. I mean, there's so much the financial burdens and all these loopholes they didn't know that these people are trying to, you know, help that grieve as well as finalize the funeral, and
Well,
they have to jump through all these hoops in order to even collect
yeah.
a portion of what is supposed to be given.
So when my grandparents passed, well, ultimately when my grandpa passed, unfortunately, well, I say unfortunately, but they had willed a certain percentage of their estate to the church. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah, and so grandkids, kids, also got allocated a certain amount of money. The problem is that the place that my grandparents lived was really my childhood home. I spent way more time there. At least the good memories felt like I spent way more time there in my early childhood, and I loved their property. It was like 13 acres, great, out in the country, place where you don't get bugged. And my mom was the executor. She had to get rid of the property because the taxes were so high, and she had to split it with the church.
Right.
And then once, the whole place was sold, it was easier to do that thing, to then be able to divvy it up with all the people who had, their hand out waiting for their cut. To me, that destroys the opportunity for property or other things to last through generations.
Oh yeah.
Because then you have to pay so much, and how in the world do you keep it? That means one of those people have to have been doing well enough to then pay that to whoever it is that, right? Like for
And
us, we pay 40% to the government. Well, who has 40% of that value?
Guess what? So it's like any time that there's a death or anything like that, let's just say death that happens,
Mm-hmm.
it's like our government has like a clause that's in there that leaves an opportunity for every one of them to be able to take all of it. Because, well, if you don't comply with all this stuff, it's ours. That pops up over everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that puts people in a predicament. So the government gets theirs no matter what.
Oh, no matter what.
So,
Yep.
I mean, it's...
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible. And the thing is...
to deal with the grief and
Sure, yeah,
and
when
all those
people are
other
already
issues.
emotionally...
That's why you see people literally lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And vultures, I mean, because...
Yeah, it gets ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff just absolutely drives me crazy. Have you heard of the gift tax?
No.
So this is something that drives me crazy as well. So a while back, I was, I was just, seeing news articles or whatever, and some guy had won the lottery, and he wanted to be able to give money to the people that he wanted to help out. And what ended up happening is gave it to these folks and didn't realize that there had to be taxes paid on it. And so all of these people who had an expectation of what they were promised didn't get what they promised because they had to give 40% to the government.
Right.
And that's after this lottery winner already had to pay the government
because
after the
it's
winning.
taxed like it's a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
So it's extra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To me, it's unfair because you're paying taxes on it multiple times.
Yeah, and the person that wins the lotto on this particular, I mean, this could happen either way, but on that particular one, the guy who wins the lottery, and he's already paying an astronomical amount of taxes on it anyways. Yep. He's lucky to take home. I'll be nice and say 50%. I mean, but then he to give it away just so they could even take more from somebody else.
I don't know the scale of like lottery winnings and at what level of winning would then constitute what level of taxation.
Right.
But just gifting they say it's upwards of 40%. So there's I think there was a celebrity one time, and I can't remember who it was, but they had finally hit it big, super successful. And what they did is they gave a whole bunch of money to their friends, But what he ended up doing was he ended up paying the taxes for them. So he had calculated what it would have cost that person to pay taxes, and basically allocated that to then pay the taxes
For them to pay taxes.
exactly. So